Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Got a brand new video for you guys today. We're going to discuss today's 4-game slate in the association. But before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate you guys drop a like on my video. And if you're new to the channel and have never been here before, first time here, want to be able to get your NBA and NFL lineup advice on a regular daily basis, weekly basis, the only thing you have to do to become a part of the DFS Zone community here is basically subscribe down below and make sure you put on those post notification bell icon on. This way you don't miss out on any of my new uploads. All right. With that being said, today is Tuesday, November the 6th, 2018, and we have a 4-game slate in the association. And we're going to jump right into it, man. I'm going to give you the best possible plays for today. I mean, there's a couple guys, let's go right over to point guard. So John Wall here at the top, 10,000, and Damian Lillard, 10,000 are the top two dogs today. Kemba Walker, 9,200. So they're the top 3-tier stud point guards today. And to be honest with you, man, I'm not feeling too much John Wall that much today. Even though he is in a favorable matchup against Dallas, that price tag is pretty high for me right now. As far as today, I think I can get value and I can get almost the same amount of fantasy points somewhere else for a little bit cheaper of a price. But 10,400, you need about 52, pretty much 52 fantasy points from me. It's really, really steep for me. Damian Lillard, same situation here against Milwaukee. D. Lil is at home. He's definitely tough. I mean, anytime you got to try to get 50 off of some of these guys, it's a little bit tough. I think he's in a much better spot, at least for me, in my opinion, over Wall, just simply because he is at home while John is on the road. What I do like best here is I've given you guys Kemba Walker 3 times this year. 2 times he lit it up. 1 time he was a little subpar. But he's at home, man, and you can't pass him up against Atlanta here at 9,200. You got to take a little stab at him. He's 9,300 on DK. You pretty much need 46 from him. And it is a big number because it is above his average of 42.9, which is pretty much 43 fantasy points per game. But he's been on a little bit of a down trend, last couple of games. As you can see, 34, 37, 27 after we've seen all those 40s and 50s and 60s. But, again, at home, I loved his chances. I love his chances here. He is averaging 28 points, 4.3 rebounds, 5.8 assists, 43 fantasy points at home per game, fantasy points per game. 29, 30, 31, 35. The longest his minutes are above 30 minutes, and he's able to put up the kind of points that he's able to do on a regular basis. He'll be just fine. We'll go over here to the cruncher. As you can see, I already have the thumbs up on him. He's in the red the last 3 games, man, but I am not concerned with Kemba Walker here. I really am not. He is at home. His usage rate, we know, is going to be very high. As you can see, over 22% pretty much on the regular. He's going to take massive shots. He'll take 12 to 15, 16 shots a game. His home and away splits have been pretty decent. At home, he's shooting 50%, which we all know he usually plays better at home. 46% from 3-point range, and he's averaging 42.3 fantasy points per game at home, which I definitely like. He's going up against Atlanta here. Atlanta's given up 38.8 fantasy points per game to point guards this year, thus far. So we know that there is opportunity here. They gave a 45.7 in their last game against Josh Richardson of the Miami Heat. They gave 65 to Fox. De'Aaron Fox, and Ben Simmons put up 50 on them. Then you had somebody like George Hill put up a 25.9, pretty much 26 fantasy points on them as well. So 3 out of the last 4 games, they have given up huge amount of fantasy points to point guards, and we're talking about Kemba Walker here, one of the top tier point guards in his league. So I definitely like Kemba here, man. I think he is a fine play. I think he's in a favorable spot. I think Atlanta, who gives a lot of points to all the positions, are really struggling in every possible position. They also come in here, as you can see, 30 of dead last in defending point guards, and they're going to be in that category pretty much all the way throughout every position. So Kemba Walker, especially out of the Charlotte players, I mean, he's probably my favorite player in the whole Charlotte team for today. If you're looking for anybody here else other than Kemba, the only one I could think of is, now, D'Angelo Russell is intriguing at 6,800. I'm going to say Dennis Smith Jr. Now, Dennis Smith Jr. is, I'm gonna mention him. If you're not willing to pay for Kimba, I think he is not a bad possible play. Now, granted, he doesn't have great upside. He's not gonna get you 50. He's not gonna get you 45. He may get you in the high 30s. He's been a little stagnant after late. My only concern with him is the turnovers. I mean, he's been just like really crazy with turnovers here. As you can see here, he has 9, 10. He has about 16 turnovers, 15, 16 turnovers over the last 4 games. That is pretty darn dangerous. And my concern with that is that, if he's going up against a team that does, have someone that can defend and get a lot of turnovers over him, in John Wall. So, I mean, that's my concern with Dennis Smith. Other than that, I mean, he's not a bad player. 6,500, you pretty much need 32 from him. And on DK, he's 5,700, so I would probably recommend him more so on DK. At 5,700, you need about 27, 28 from him there. And he's at 26. He has 30, 35-point upside, as you can see here. He was pretty consistent there for a little while. Then all of a sudden he had this downward, spiral here. He's been on a downward trend, and the concerns is the turnovers, as you can see here. And another thing also about Dennis Smith is that he needs to be able to do more things at point guard. Like I always state here, I love point guards that if they're not shooting the ball well, or at least if they're shooting the ball well, they're also doing other things to bring up fantasy points. He doesn't give us a lot of other, possibilities with fantasy points when he's only just shooting and he's just basically scoring, and he's not doing some other things like getting some rebounds and assists, and obviously doing some defensive fantasy points for us, like getting some blocks and some steals. Now, he's capable of stealing the ball. He's going to need to get back to that in this matchup today. I think he has a shot, also to do fairly well here, because Washington has had their issues as well. Washington's given up 120.7 points per game, most in the NBA thus far this year to the opposition, and they're also allowing 47% from the floor. They've also given up 39.3 fantasy points per game, so there is definitely some room for Dennis Smith to do something here today. And I like him also more so if there's no Doncic. If the Doncic is not able to play, Dennis Smith is going to get more usage, more opportunities. He's going to be on the floor more. He's going to get more touches with the basketball, and he's going to be expected to put up some more scoring as well in this matchup if Doncic is out. So that's the one thing. So keep in mind, if you don't want Walker or you don't want to pay up for Lillard or for Wall, and you want to come down and save some money, I don't think Dennis Smith is not a bad play, especially if Doncic is out. I think I love him a lot more if Doncic is out. So that's my recommendation for you guys, and I think he is a better play on DK. If you play DK at 5,700, he's pretty darn good. Washington has given up big points to a lot of people, and John Wall has been the culprit. He's been the one defending all these guys. Westbrook, he gave up 55, Connolly 37, Fox 34, Curry 61, Lillard 48, Lowry 51, and Goran Dragic put up 30. And that's all within the last 6 or 7 games for John Wall. So he's definitely has had his struggles with a lot of the top tier and mid-tier point guards. So Dennis Smith definitely has an opportunity here if you wanted to come down that low. I'm not too fond of him because of the turnovers. I'm concerned with him there. I'm also concerned of the fact is that he is not, doesn't have that big upside that we're looking for. But he's in a favorable position here as far as fantasy points being given up by Washington, by John Wall, and he's given up a ton. So I would say he's someone that you definitely should have your radar on. Other than that, I mean, coming down here to the bottom tier, I'm just going to mention Barrera and Lynn definitely could be possible good plays. He has value. They're basically my budget plays. I like both of them here because, again, if Doncic is out, I would think there's going to be a bump up for Barrera. He may even be at point, and they may move Dennis Smith to shooting guard. Who knows? Or move Barrera to shooting guard. So he's going to get some minutes, especially if Doncic is out. And Barrera is one of those players that at 3,900, you basically only need 19, 20 fantasy points from him, and he has 25, 30-point upside any given day. He's usually a 1 fantasy point per minute player, and as long as he gets, for this price of 19 of 3,900, you really want him to play at least 17 or 18 minutes or better. And he is pretty much at, he's at 15, 14. He did 24 here against LA. As you can see, if he gets the minutes, he could put up almost 30 fantasy points, and we know he has the upside to get 30 or better. So I like his chances here in this matchup if there's no Doncic. Definitely something to keep your eye on. Again, down below, I'm going to leave Remember, as of late, what I'm gonna do is I did a Slack chat a couple months ago. I never really posted it to anybody, but anybody wants to communicate with me, discuss cash plays, discuss anything regarding GPP or anything like that, I'm gonna leave in the description down below of this video. It's gonna have I'm gonna give you my group invite link, so it gives you an opportunity to go there. If you have Slack, then go in there, sign up, or if you don't, you can get Slack for free. Then basically take my invitation, get in there, and reach out to me, and we can communicate there if you want to, all the way up to just before lock. That's probably the best way for me to communicate with people, because I am going to be in and out so much during the course of a day, and then when I come back, I pretty much only have a half hour to look over everything one more time, and then basically post up on YouTube right here in the comment down boxes below, which I've been telling you guys as of late that I will be putting up what I think are the best possible plays once again later in the day. So that'll be a good way to communicate with me if you wanted to do that. All right, that'll be down below. But again, Barrera and then Jeremy Lin, the same thing, 3,800. You only need 18. I mean, you got to give him a shot. If you want to, I could see him playing easily. He's playing 16 minutes in the last game, 23-20. If he's in that 20-minute range, definitely love him there, because that'll be more than what I would, for this price tag here. You definitely want somebody to play 17 minutes or better, because it gives you that mindset. Let's put it this way. I put it as like, I want to see at least 1 point per minute. So a guy like Jeremy Lin, as well as even JJ Barrera, they're capable of doing that. So, in my eyes, I'm looking at, hey, you know what? If I'm going to pay $3,800 for a budget play, I want the guy to at least play 16, 17 minutes or better. So as long as he's at above that, he's at 16 here, 23-23. I would love him to get to that 20-23. And you can see he can get you that 1 fantasy point per minute and even crush it as he did here. So anything about getting 1 fantasy point per minute or exceeding that is exactly what we're looking for as far as GPP. And even for cash, you want a nice consistent player who's coming in and on a consistent basis putting up some good, and he has a very decent floor. Then he has a little bit of an upside. That's an individual that you might want to consider. So let's go over to shooting guard. At shooting guard, Bradley Beal is definitely someone I'm considering, because I'm not high on Wall, but I like Bradley Beal's price, and I love his price on DK as well. He's 8,800 on Fanduel. You need about 44. And on DK's 7,400, you need about 37. So he is playable in either one of the two platforms. I like his matchup a little bit better than Wall. And I also like, and I've mentioned this before, when I play these guys, I usually play one or the other. I don't usually play them both. And when I don't play Wall, I usually play Beal. If I don't play Beal, I play Wall. I usually play more Beal than I play Wall because of his price tag. So I am in favor of that 8,800 for Bradley Beal here and 7,400 on DK. He comes in here pretty much averaging 23 points per game, which is a solid number, points per game. 4 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 37.4 fantasy points per game. You want to know if he's somewhere near that range. Always look to see that. You also want to see if he's close to that price tag also. At this price tag at 44, he's actually 5, maybe 6 fantasy points below that as far as average is concerned, but he's been in that area. He's been at 42 or better 2 out of the last 3 games, and he's hit the 40s at least 4 times this year, which is not too bad. I would prefer him to hit it 5 or 6 times. But nonetheless, then you start, in my case, I look at the matchup and I look up that he's going up against, he's going up here against Dallas, who's giving up 116.8 points per game. And let's go over to him so we can look him a little bit more here. So, like I always do, you got 40 minutes, 31-40. The minutes have been outrageous. He's getting more than 1 fantasy point per minute. The shots are there. Pretty much 15 to 16 shots on the regular from the floor. His 3-point shooting, same thing, anywhere between 7 or 8 threes per game on average. He's been pretty solid, man. His home and away splits have been okay. He's better at home, usually is the case for both Beal and Wall. He's 43% field goal percentage on the road and 33% from 3. Has to improve, but he is averaging 37.3 fantasy points per game on the road. So definitely that is within that price range of that DK being at 7,400 and needing 37 there. And then, of course, he does other things. He can rebound. He can assist. He could definitely block some shots and steals. He's a pretty decent defender. I like him better as a defender than John Wall. And his numbers have been solid, as you can see, over 20 points pretty much per game in 4, 5, 6, pretty much 6 out of the last 7 or 8 games. He's been pretty solid. I love the matchup. Like I said, man, he's going up against the Dallas. They're allowing their opponents 116.8 points per game. Their opponents are shooting 50% from the floor against these guys and 45% from three, and that's what I love. Granted, he has only been shooting 33% Bradley Beal, but this is an opportunity. This is a team that really is vulnerable to three-point shooting, and this is where Wall and Beal have to take advantage. And I think that Beal, I really like the matchup. As far as the price, I'm taking Beal in this matchup simply because I think he can definitely do better in the matchup against who's defending him. And not only that, is that he is the one that can get really hot from threes, and he can just light it all up. So again, Bradley Beal in play for me. They're allowing 37 fantasy points per game to shooting guards thus far this year. They gave 61 to DeRozan, 54 to Bazemore, 47 to Levine, 47 to Booker, and they gave 31 to Timmy Hardaway. So again, Bradley Beal is in play for me, guys. Definitely in play for me. I definitely love the matchup. I think he's going to have an excellent opportunity here to get maybe even 10x, probably put a 50 spot here. It is very much possible. If you're not willing to pay for Beal, come down, play Booker, Doncic. That's a game time decision. If he's in play, I think he's just too expensive for me, so I would not recommend him, especially if he has an ankle sprain and he's still recuperating from it. He's probably not going to be 100%. I'm all in favor of Caris LeVert here. I love LeVert in this matchup against Phoenix. He's been playing really, really well this year. I saw that last year. I mentioned him a number of times last year on how he looked like he was really starting to become a really good offensive player, and that Brooklyn was starting to realize that they have something pretty good here with Mr. LeVert. And now this year, as you can see, he is the leader of this team as far as offensively. He's going to get the usage. He's going to get the shots. He's going to get the touches, and he's going to get more than enough minutes. He's averaging more than 28 minutes per game over the last easily pretty much most of the season. He's pretty much at 30 or better if you calculate this. I think he's about 30, 31 minutes per game. And the numbers are great. And he's trending upward. He's averaging 34.8 fantasy points per game at 8,000. You need 40. And on DK, he is 7,200. You only need 36 over there. Very, very much possible for him to hit that number. But this is what I like to see. Trending upward. His average has been about 35. You want to know if he's getting better than 35. Well, 39, 47, and 40. So in the last 3 games, he's trending upward. And this number is just going to keep increasing. Now, the only thing is that the number over here, as far as salary, is getting a little high as well. So we need to get 40 from him. Can he get 40? Yes. Can he get closer to 50? Yes. I think he could pay off the price, and I think he can exceed value as well. Let's go over to the Cruncher. And as you can see, usage rate in the last 2 games over 32%, which is truly, fantastic to see. It tells you that he is definitely the major important piece here to the puzzle as far as offensively. And as you can see also from the shots, 17 through as many as 20 from the floor in the last few games. He's pretty much averaging about maybe 16, 17 per game. And then from the 3-point line, he's taking his shots there as well, pretty much averaging 5 to 6 a game throughout the last maybe 6 or 7 games. So maybe about 4 to 5 a game on average. And then he gets these rebounds, he does the assists, and he can defend. 4 steals, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's had 11 steals in the last 4 games and 1 block. All additional fantasy point totals. Those are the kind of players we're looking for. Guys that give us that potential to any given night not only score fairly well, but can rebound, can assist, and at the same time defend and make big plays to get those additional 3-point fantasy point totals that we really, really need as fantasy point players. And that's guys like Caris LeVert, where he's able to get some steals and some blocks. So this is exactly what we're looking for here. Last 3 games, 29, 20, and 19 points from the floor. I just love it. So if you're not on Beal, you definitely got to have some LeVert. He's trending up, and his home and away splits are not bad at all. Away on the road, 45% shooting thus far this year. He is much better at home. He's shooting over 50% at home. Okay, that's for certain. But I love the factors of the 11 steals, and they're going up against Phoenix, who turns over the ball a ton. So it's an opportunity. That's another reason why I love Caris LeVert here today. Phoenix gives up the ball a lot. I looked at the stats. They've given up 18 turnovers per game on average thus far this year. They turn over the ball a ton. I could see him getting 2 or 3 more steals, maybe even 4 today as well. That's all going to be additional fantasy points on top of his scoring. So definitely Caris LeVert. If you're not going to pay for Beal at 8,800 here on Fanduel or you could come down to LeVert at 8,000 and save the $800. I think that he is a fantastic play. All right. Phoenix coming in 114.9, almost 115 points per game to the opposition. Like I said before, 51% shooting The opponents are shooting 51% from the floor on them. And again, the turnovers 18 per game against shooting guards. They're giving up only 25 fantasy points per game, but they have not faced a whole lot of great shooting guards or guys that are integral parts of offenses that are shooting guards. In this case, they're only giving up 39 to DeRozan, which was a low number. That was definitely a down day for DeRozan. Klay Thompson put up 31, and Gary Harris put up 37. So there is some room here for Karis LeVert to do very, very well here today. So if you're not going to pay for Mr. Beal, definitely get Mr. LeVert. And I'm not in favor of anybody else down here. If I'm going to go anybody low here, or the only one that I'm interested in, as far as GPP, because I'm a GPP player, maybe some Lamb, maybe some Matthews, but I prefer Matthews for $100 cheaper because he plays more minutes. And if you can get more minutes, then at least, because at 5,600, I want at least 24, 25 minutes or better, at least, to get out of him. I look at it as like if I get 25 minutes and he gives me 1 point per, 1 fantasy point per minute, that ends up being 25. So I am willing to take that. He is averaging pretty much in the 30s. So he gets a lot of run on the floor. And there are those days that he shoots the ball fairly well. Now, he doesn't do a whole lot of other things. He can definitely get a couple of steals. He doesn't block shots, but he needs to definitely get some more rebounds, get a little more dirtier, get some rebounds, pass the ball a little bit, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get a little bit more out of him. But at 5,600, you only need 27 pretty much to meet value. He's averaging pretty much 25.6. He's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. And he's capable of getting you 30, 33. So for the minutes, I'll be willing to take a risk and throw him in there in the GPP. So he will probably be my value play down here for me today as far as shooting guard. Small forward, if you're not paying for Giannis, which I'm not paying for Giannis today, he needs to get about 63, 64 to meet that 12,800 price. That is a very big number. And you know what? I'm sure he could probably get close to his average. I think he may get close to 50, but he's not going to be able to pay that price. And if he does, hey, great. Whoever took him, he's going to be probably low owned. I can't expect him being highly owned at all in a 4-game slate, not at that price tag. But again, that's entirely up to you. Nicholas Batum could be someone to consider. I'm not really high on this guy, never have really been. Otto Porter Jr., the toe thing is a concern for me. He is a game-time decision. If he does play, he plays, that's great. May sprinkle him in one lineup, but at 6,100, I'd rather come down and get a healthy Harrison Barnes at 6,000, who gets tons of minutes, As you can see, at 35 in the last game, granted, he's not going to, he was Mr. Consistent last year. He's going to be consistent. Give him some time. He's going to be in that 25 to 28 fantasy points per game on average. He pretty much was that kind of a player last year. But he has those moments where he can get you 30 or more. And I'd rather take my chances with someone who gets 34, 35 minutes per game on the floor. And especially in a situation like this where there's probably if there's no Doncic, he's going to more than likely get a little bit more usage, and it's going to be needed to put up more fantasy points, more points on the floor for their team, which in turn will give us hopefully some more fantasy points. So at 14 points, 4 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 23.5 fantasy points per game. At 6, you need 30, and on DK, he's 5,500, so you only need 27 there to meet value, 27 or so, and that is not bad. It's pretty much attainable, and with the minutes, I'm willing to pay 6,000, and even if he doesn't come through and he gets me at least average 24, 25, I could live with the 5 point less fantasy point total, to be totally honest with you. I could live with that. All right, and he probably is not even a bad cash play today in this matchup, especially if there's no Doncic. But I like him as taking a stab here as a GPP here today. Taking my chances with Mr. Let's go to small forward and Mr. Barnes. All right. And, usage rate is pretty good, 23, 27 over the last 2 games. He's taking tons of shots, just not burying them. So he could obviously be putting up 30 to 35 fantasy points per game if he hits 45, 50% from the floor. He needs to get the shots down a little bit more. And as you can see, he does a little bit of everything, not a whole lot in the last game, but he's capable of getting some rebounds. Definitely needs to pass. But this is guy he just looks for the screens. He basically looks for those perimeter shots. He'll take a couple of threes here and there, and he's not too bad in the free throw line as well. He's pretty much about 80, 85% free throw shooter. That's pretty much what Harrison Barnes brings, But he definitely has, 30, 35 point upside, and that's what we would like to see him pay here. Now, granted, at home, I looked at his home and away splits. He's been horrific at home this year. I mean, truly, he's been horrific. He needs to step it up. If there is one game he needs to step it up, this is the game, especially if there's no Doncic. He has been horrific. He has been 7 of 27 shooting from the floor at home thus far this year, 26%, and 1 out of 11 from the three-point stripe. I mean, and only averaging 17 fantasy points per game at home in Dallas. He needs to step it up. I think if there's any game, this is the bounce back game here at home to finally get himself back on track. He's going up against Washington, gives up a ton of points. Like I said, I hate to pick on them, but they've been horrific this year. 120.7 points per game, 47.5% field goal percentage given up to their opponents thus far this year. As you can see here, they're 10th in defending the small forward position, and they've given up only 27 fantasy points per game to small forwards. They did give up 35 to Paul George, 33 to Tobias Harris, 34 to Kyle Anderson, 53 to Durant, and 40 to Rodney Magruder. And the Tobias Harris, Kyle Anderson, and the Durant scores were all on the road, okay? All on the road given up. So, again, there is an opportunity there for Mr. Barnes. So Harrison Barnes is there. Down here, man, still undecided, to be totally honest with you guys. Bunbury is someone that I'm definitely considering at 4,900. You pretty much need 24 there. Oubre, 2,400. It all varies more or less on who is available tonight. Is Warren out? Is Otto Porter out? Is Taurean Prince out? We need to stay on top of the of this injury report, and we'll determine and see if there is some value down here. Now, if there is no Prince, definitely, obviously, DeAndre Bunbury will be a nice play. There's no doubt about it. Going up against Charlotte, Charlotte has allowed 33 fantasy points per game to small forwards, so there's an opportunity there. If it's not Bunbury, then you definitely consider Oubre, especially if Otto Porter is out. He's going to get a bump in minutes. He's going to get a bump in usage. And he's one of those guys that's capable of putting up 40 fantasy points. He has a lot of upside potential. He's done it before when Otto Porter's been out. And going up against Dallas, who's giving up 32 fantasy points per game to small forward. So both of them are vulnerable in that aspect. And they could definitely come in and make a difference. Of course, other than that, I mean, a little sneaky, quiet play could be Jeff Green in that same Washington-Dallas game. I mean, at 4,200, you need 21. He's averaging 19, almost 20, and he gets more than enough minutes. If he's getting 20 or more minutes at that price, I'll be willing to throw him in there, and he has 29, 27, 15 here, but 27 and 29, 21. So maybe in the 22 to 25-minute range is pretty much maybe the average for Jeff Green over the last few games. There's a possibility to throw in there Jeff Green, who can get you 25, 30. That's pretty much it for me there, but I don't know for certain until later on. I do know that I do love Harrison Barnes today as my stud small forward. We go to power forward, and not a whole lot to choose from here, ladies and gentlemen, to be totally honest with you. So I'm basically going with players that I think are going to be able to give me more than enough minutes for the price and be able to hopefully give me some upside. So, Ilyasova could be a possible play for anybody here against Portland. I'm going to go first to Hollis Jefferson. He's starting to get back in the groove here. He is a 30-point, 30-plus player. He could definitely get you 35, possibly even 40 any given night. 3 out of his last 4 games, he's had 22-plus, which is fantastic. He's at 5,300. You pretty much need 26 here. And on DK, he's 4,800. You need 24. And even though he's averaging 22, he is trending upward. As you can see, 22 here, 32, 32. So over the last 3 out of the last 4 games, he's been at 22 or better. So slightly trending upward. And what we look for is if he's trending upward is we're going to make sure if he's playing more than enough minutes. He is playing more than 24 minutes. At this price, you definitely want at least 24 minutes or better, 25 minutes. If he's getting me 27 or 28 minutes, if he can get closer to 30, he at least gives you that opportunity. As you can see, 29 minutes, 32 fantasy points. So I look, those are some of the things I look for. So let's go over to the cruncher. And let's take a look at his usage rate a little bit. Where is Mr. Hollis Jefferson? And his usage rate when he is getting the minutes, as you can see, 30 minutes here, he got 21%, 25 minutes here, got 14, 27 here, got 27. So it varies all on the game flow, on how everything's going within the course of the game. He gets anywhere between 9 maybe to 10. I would say 9 to 10 on average, maybe the most 11 shots per game. And as long as he gets some rebounds, he gets himself dirty there and gets a couple of blocks and steals, which he's capable of doing time to time, he'll be just fine. What we're concerned here is the minutes and the shots And if he's getting the minutes and the shots, then there's a possibility for him to get us the fantasy points. His home and away splits thus far this year, shooting 41% on the road, only averaging 22 fantasy points per game. Again, he's just starting to get cooking now. Versus Phoenix, he did get a 38 spot, which I look back to see how he's done against Phoenix, and it's right here on the cruncher. 37.9 last year in one game at 5,900, which is actually higher than his price today. And 2 years ago on 2016-17 season, he did have a 31 and a 42 spot. So 3 out of his last 4 matchups against Phoenix, he's done fairly well. So he is definitely someone to consider. Definitely someone to consider today in the matchup today. And then Phoenix, like I said, 114.9, 51% from the floor given to the opposition. They're 8th in defending power forwards, so they're pretty decent there. 23 fantasy points per game allowed thus far to power forwards. They did give up 35 to Millsap, 33 to Draymond Green. And that's pretty much it. Now, everybody else that they have faced were very, very low price power forwards. So in the same price range as Hollis Jefferson. Hollis Jefferson, we know he is, let's put it this way, Hollis Jefferson also is pretty cheap right now. So we got to take advantage of that price tag also. So keep that also in mind. This is a guy here when he's healthy, and he played last year. He pretty much most of the time was $65 to as much as $7,000 in some given nights. So he is definitely priced, fairly cheap here at $5,300, and then also $4,800 on DK. So once in a while you got to take a look at that and consider some guys just before they start getting cooking and those price tags go up. All right, at center. At center, you could make a case for DeAndre Jordan against Washington. I'm going to go with DeAndre Ayton, 8,500. You need 42 from him. On DK, he is 7,500. You need 37 there. He's averaging 37 right now, and he's been averaging more than 37 on average pretty much. He has had 40. Let's look at this here for a minute. As you can see here, minutes are fantastic. Over 31 minutes, 32 minutes per game on average if we tally this all up. So he's 32 plus in minutes, 37 or better in 6 plus games. He's had 5 40-point games, as you can see here, thus far this year. So all pretty good. We go over to the cruncher. And as you can see, let's move this up a little bit. Look at all these greens here. All these games that he met value or crushed it. Then look at the minutes. The usage rate, a little choppy. 16% here in 35 minutes, but 7 of 10. Look at the efficiency, 70%. Rebounds, 18. Then he brings that defense with him. He's had 4 blocks over the last 2 games and 3 steals. Can't turn over the ball. This is not good here. We don't want to see 5 turnovers. He needs to clean that up a little bit, but he passes the ball. He's got some assist totals. 18 and 19%, 13 to 14 shots per game, can get you steals and blocks. I mean, he does a little bit of pretty much everything. He is a little bit turnover prone, which he's got to clean up. But Brooklyn, 111.3 points per game given up to the opposition. Opponents are shooting 46% on them from the floor. Brooklyn comes in here 21st, as you can see, defending centers. So definitely, we always used to pick on Brooklyn last year. We're still picking on them depending on who they're going up against, even though Jared Allen has improved. Nonetheless, we like Ayton here. Allowing 35.6 fantasy points per game to centers thus far this year is Brooklyn. Gave up 51 to Capella, 58 and 50 in 2 matchups against Andrew Drummond, and 47 to Mr. Cantor of the New York Knicks. So Ayton here is definitely in a very, very favorable position here to do very well. So I like him here today, the youngster, to dominate and really make a difference. Other than that, you could come down and pay down to Nurkic. He's in a good spot, $7,600, $900 cheaper than Ayton in a favorable matchup going against Milwaukee. Milwaukee's given up a ton of points to centers as well. Matter of fact, I can let you know that right now. Milwaukee has given up 32.6 fantasy points per game to centers. So Mr. Nurkic is in play. But I'm going to come down, man, to the older guy, Dwight Howard. I think Dwight Howard at 6,800 is definitely in play. Definitely in play. 30 minutes and 23 minutes. He's at 6,800 here on Fanduel. You need about 34. On DK, 6,100. You need 30. He's averaging 29. Okay, and he just came back, so he's just starting to get cooking. First game, he played 23 minutes, put up nearly almost 1 point per minute. He did have a double-double in his last game. Not a whole lot of points, but he did get the rebounds. He got 1 block and 1 steal. You're going to get some steals. You're going to get some blocks from him usually pretty much every game. So he's at least good for maybe 1 steal and 1 block per game. And if he can get 15 to 20 points and 15 rebounds, you're going to have a solid game from Dwight Howard. 30 minutes in the last game, love to see that. If he could stay at 30 minutes today or better, he's going to be in good shape to put up some numbers here. You know, he did. So again, double-double in his last game, 26 minutes pretty much on average. He does, it's a small sample for him this year because he just got back. But 23% usage rate in that first game, and then 15 pretty much in his last game. Again, he's not going to take a ton of shots. He's going to be more like 10 to 12 shots per game. He's starting to get going. Just give him a little bit more time here. And the most important thing here, folks, is Dwight Howard is at least at 8,000 or better center as far as price tag. He's only at 6,800 and 6,100 on DK. He is cheap right now. You got to at least take a chance and have him at least in a lineup or two. There's no reason why not. You got to at least take a shot. Dallas coming in 116.8 points per game, giving up 50% to the floor, a field goal percentage to opponents from the floor, 18th, as you can see here, in defending centers. So they're in that bottom tier, allowing 39.6, pretty much 40 fantasy points per game. So there's definitely some room here for Mr. Howard. Gave up 41 to the Knicks, Mr. Robinson, 53 to Mr. McGee, 57 to Gobert, 47 to Towns, and 45 to Ayton. So, I mean, I don't see no reason why Dwight Howard cannot get himself 40, in this spot here or better. I think he has an excellent shot. So Dwight Howard here is someone that I'm considering. I am not at all thrilled about anybody else here at center. Those are the two that I'm pretty much looking at on my player pool today and putting it in my lineups today. Pretty much a small slate, guys, man. I hope this helps. Drop a like on the video. Again, if you want to comment down anything below, you can. If you want to reach out to me, I'm going to put that invitation link down below for the Slack. If you want to reach out to me there, at least I get that little notification that somebody send me something, and we can just interact and talk there if you would like. Other than that, you can comment down on the video description here below, and I'll try to interact with you guys the best way I can, like I have been doing over the course of the NBA season. Other than that, man, good luck tonight, and that's it. I'll see you in the next video.